Well, let's see, I got out, I probably was 21 years old. And to some guys, that was an old man, you know. But anyway, we got married, and my wife, Jane, and I went on a business venture with my brother-in-law in the painting business. And we done painting for quite a few years. And so then, worked in a cabinet shop for years. And so finally, a job come open at General Motors, and I was one of the fortunate ones that got hired. And we spent about 30 years up there. And in the meantime, we had 3 children, the 2 boys and a girl. And so life has been pretty good to us. We got to retire before they closed the shop. And so they paid our insurance, and we got us a house, and in the meantime, we got it paid for, and had some savings, and so when the kids got big enough, we started taking the winters off and going down to Texas. Tried Florida, but it wasn't really to our suiting. So we went back to Texas, and that's where I met this one guy that was in the Air Force. And he used to fly missions right over the top of us. And so he also told us a story about flying over and watching a column of men going down the road, and he didn't fire on them because nobody ducked for cover. So they turned out to be prisoners of war. And he had met one of them a year afterward in Japan, and so it was a pretty happy meeting there. So we've been fortunate enough to go back for the last 20 years, and then of course there's all misfortunes come with the good times. So did lose my wife 59 years, and in the meantime I lost my son, 52 years old, and so now we're just concentrating on making the best of every day that we can, and other than these 2 things here, why we were met, well, I wouldn't say met, but another lady that was a widow here, and a friend of mine, and we got together, and so we decided, by golly, that maybe we'll just live together and get married and spend the rest of the time enjoying life. So we're going right on 7 years, and whatever God wants to give us.
Did you join any? Did you join, or were you active in any veterans organizations? And did you ever attend any Korean War veteran reunions?
No, I did belong to the American Legion for quite a few years. But I worked like second shift, and so I couldn't attend their meetings and stuff. And I was one of the officers at one time, and I had to resign because I just couldn't take off of work and go to a meeting, see. So finally I said, well, hey, first come the job, and if next comes the house, and then they have to stay in the background, see. So, but I had done a lot of marching with them, and a lot of parades, a lot of funerals. But that's all gone now.
Did your service in the military influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, I think my thinking about the war is the fact that they're awful easy to get in and awful hard to get out. Now, I think if they should take a look back at these little wars that we got into, which we didn't have no business being in them, I don't think. I think we wasted a lot of money, a lot of manpower, and we didn't get much return for it. They always had the same excuses about getting into them, but they're short on ways of getting out of them, you know. I would certainly hope that before we get involved in anything again, that they would take a second look at it and say, do we really need to do this, you know? And my opinion that there was some of these that we really didn't need to, you know. And I don't have any beef with Afghan fighting Afghan, but I do have sending our people into a hopeless thing, you know. So of course I'm I'm not a known general, so I don't have anything to do about it. But I think that, like I say, let's take a second look at it before we jump into it with both feet, you know.
So, by your definition, what was the Korean War, and do you think it was justified?
Well, I think the idea of it was fine. They were really working on this United Nations thing, you know what I mean? Well, the United Nations thing only amounted to the Americans with their money and their men, you know? And the same thing is still going on, you know what I mean? There was just a handful of foreigners in Korea. We had a few Turks and a few other ones there, but on the whole, we bared the brunt of the whole thing. So I don't know, this United Nations kind of overstates it, I think. The same thing has happened in this Afghan war. Everybody pulled out except us, you know. And this is another United Nations thing. So we're still spending money and troops and whatever, and the other ones went home a long time ago. They picked up their stuff and went home, see? So, you know, the Russians tried going in there, and they said, poo on this place, we give it up, got out of there. So, and we helped run the Russians out, of course. So we turn around and do the same thing, you know.
So do you think the Korean War was a success, what all said and done?
Well, I think it could have been handled differently. I think if they wanted to go, my idea of the mission there was to restore the boundary back to where it was. You know, the 38th parallel was the North Koreans came across, so when we shoved them back across the 38th, that really should have been the end, to my thinking. So our leaders said, no, we're going to punish them. We're going to wipe them out. And we did. We wiped that North Korean army out, see. Well, then here come China, see, you know. So it was an open invitation for China. And it was a practice place for the Russians. They could practice with their airplanes, their tanks, their guns. And I think I would have felt better about it if they would have just run them back where they came from, and that's it. The mission is over, you know. But Of course, you, you don't have nothing to say about it. You just bellyache about it, that's all.
Did you get everything? Did you achieve everything that you wanted to in life?
I don't think anyone achieves everything that they want in life. But I would say that I probably achieved most of them. Some people believe that you have to have a whole hoard of gold in order to be happy, and that's not really necessary. Not that I ever had a hoard of gold, but some of the important things, about caring and sharing and all this kind of stuff makes life worth living, and sometimes we forget about these things, and so and like I say, we have truly been blessed, and so far our health been pretty good, and you just can't beat that going down in the winter and keeping warm. I don't like shoveling snow.
Done enough of that, right? In the early days.
And a kind of weird thing about that, when I was younger, we worked in the timber, and I'd say 0 was a working day, And after laying on that ground that winter over there, I said, man, if I ever get out of here alive, I ain't freezing no more. So I guess partly in your head, when it starts to snow, well, you kind of get kind of chilly, But some of it's psychological, and some of it's that old age that's coming, creeps up on you, see.
Okay, well, that being said, we're down to our last question, and that is there anything else you would like to add to your interview?
Oh, I don't think so. I done yak more than I have for 2 months. So.
Anything we haven't covered? I mean, the mic's wide open, Jerry. We'll get that here in just a second.
Okay.
We'll get a picture.
Well, all I know, when we were talking about friends and stuff before, and friends are fine, but they don't take the place of a good wife, And I'm one of those fortunate people that had 2 good wives, and so you got someone that can share your time with, and mostly all good, and so I think the sharing is probably the greatest of all, and so, and at this stage of the game, why the companionship is just it's a big number one, yeah. And I feel real blessed that I'm one of those people that's fortunate enough to have a great companion. And so we try to make the most of every day, and of course we have some plans for tomorrow, but it's been good.